It's another battle for the Aggies, and the KSL Sports Zone has it covered. Utah State looks to overcome another heart-wrenching loss as Bronco Mendenhall and the Aggies are going boldly. Your home for all the play-by-play coverage of Aggie football is right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. This is Hans Olsen and Scotty G, presented by Mountain Land Supply on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Hans Olsen, Scott Gerard, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Happy Thursday, everybody. It's your Ute Preview Show. Even though there isn't a game to preview, and we don't know quite yet where Utah is going to play, it's a look back on this season. What went right, what went wrong, and frankly, Hans, I think there's a lot of what went right with this team when you look at the fact that the way they ended the season, the way they regrouped after the Texas Tech and BYU losses, frankly, they're not going to get the love they should deserve, but I think from a talent standpoint, this may have been one of Kyle Whittingham's best teams. Unfortunately, their two losses came to the top two teams in the conference, and Utah unable to really establish themselves as a Big 12 title contender after those two losses because Texas Tech and BYU refused to lose. But still, just a phenomenal team this year, especially from an offensive side, where they go from averaging 130 yards a game rushing last year to 270 yards this year on the ground. I mean, a massive increase in yards per game on the ground, and Jason Beck deserves a ton of credit for that.
Man, a ton of credit. And I want to clear up a little bit of confusion. First of all, just the projection of where Utah's headed, most people have them projected to the Las Vegas Bowl. And there are a couple of different opponents I've seen. I've seen Iowa as a potential opponent. I've seen Illinois as a potential opponent. But it is looking like it's going to be a run to the Vegas Bowl, which is played January 2nd. That is Friday. No, that's December 31st Bowl. Yeah. That's a December 31st Bowl. So that'll be Wednesday, December 31st. And that's a 3 o'clock kick on ESPN. It's a great bowl. I've called that bowl a few times, and they do a great job. Outside of the garbage food that they serve in that booth, it is a tremendous bowl. But to your point, Scotty, it just feels empty and it feels hollow. Okay, so I wanted to kind of give the projections there. And then I wanted to clear some things up because I think that there's a lot of different rumor out there on how Kyle feels about Jason Beck or how Jason Beck feels about Kyle. And I still talk to good friends around the program. I still know quite a few people in that organization. And everything that comes back to me about Kyle Whittingham's feelings about Jason Beck is Jason Beck and his energy and his unification with Marky Atawaya and the energy that it came with the combo of Freddie Whittingham and Jim Harding and the way that these guys have all come together. And Micah Simon, the wide receivers coach. Everything that I know, and I know quite a bit, is Kyle has been ecstatic about the energy that Jason Beck has brought. And Jason, bless his heart, the guy gets into a very tough situation in a university that highlights defense, and he's got to kind of push his elbows out and find a little bit of elbow room so that he can go to work. He was able to elbow out, find his room to work, find his success, and do his thing. So I think it's an amazing partnership. And, Scotty, what my hope is, this is my hope. I hope Kyle Whittingham is so infused with energy and excitement of having an offensive coordinator with this level of ingenuity and entertainment that he's like, you know what? We're going to find a way to solidify this talent. We're going to add a couple of pieces. I'm going to come back and we're going to meet BYU in the Big 12 championship next year. Like, that's my hope, because I do feel like it's been a really good working environment for these guys as they've come together.
Oh, there's no doubt. And I think you hit it right on the head. There's a lot of talent retention you're going to have to work on. You got to find a way to keep Devin Dampier and Bert Ficklin. I don't know if it's possible, but you got to find a way to keep both and to have Bird continue to embrace that role, knowing that it's like, hey, this job is going to be completely yours. You are going to be the BMOC when Devin Dampier shuts it down, and who knows how long he can go playing the way that he does. He might be hurt. We may be asking you to do a lot next year. So just know your time's coming. It may be sooner than you think, but it's coming. So just hang in there. We'll compensate you well for your time, but just hang in there with us, and you're going to get rewarded handsomely. And so if you can keep that offense together in some way, shape, or form, I know there's always going to be some level of attrition, but if I'm Kyle Whittingham and I get to keep my ducks in a row and I keep that offense back and I can reload on the defensive side, then hell yeah, it's go time, because you could have an incredibly special team on your hands that's now battle-tested in the Big 12, that knows what it's like to win. You struggled in year one. You did great in year two. Then you could go into that year three with a special season on your mind and say, all right, BYU, you had your year. Well, guess what? Now it's time for ours, and we're going to take over this conference.
Yeah, man, I'm staying the course, and you are losing some really valuable pieces. I know Dallin Bentley will be moving on. I know I'm most concerned about this offensive line because Jaron Kump will graduate, Michael Mokofisi will graduate, Tanoa Tagiai will graduate, and then you look at your offensive tackles that are underclassmen, they're probably both going to enter the draft. So it will be a complete replacement of the offensive line, but I know they got money to go out and do that with their NIL. So go out and attack that offensive line and rebuild something. And then defensively, you talked about kind of reloading. It's not a huge exodus. You get guys like Nate Ritchie back. You get guys like Smith Snowden back and Teo Johnson back. You get Paul Fitzgerald and Logan Fano for another year. And I think you can do some really fun things with those guys on the bookend. The guys you lose Aliki, who has been a mainstay at the defensive tackle position for a few years. That's going to be a tough loss. And you lose Lander Barton. You lose Levani Damuni as well. And Levani was really good this year. He was great at times. But I do think that you can rebuild there for Colton Swan and his group as well. Personally, I look at this more encouraged than discouraged. You got your footing to 10-2. The only two losses that you had were against the two teams that are meeting in the Big 12 championship game. One of those losses to your rival was a very hard-fought, very close game. Texas Tech was a bit of a different story, but I do know Utah they were not as healthy in that game as they needed to be. And I'm just encouraged. I'm encouraged what this team is. I know I'm kind of trying to talk myself into believing that Kyle Whittingham will be back because I've kind of made my position known with Kyle, Scotty.
Yeah.
I just don't. I don't see him leaving. And I feel like the longer this extends, and you just had signing day, and I'm sure he's encouraged about a lot of the kids he was able to sign. He swung a big one with Celeste Moa.
Yeah. That's a big flip.
Yeah, because he'd verbally committed to Tennessee quite a while ago, and as you know, I know that family really well. Celeste's mom is like a sister to me, and his dad is like a brother to me. And I've watched these kids grow up, and Saw definitely has the potential to be the best of the Moa boys. But he was dead set on Tennessee. So Utah got in the game. And honestly, Scotty, I feel like the only way Utah can really get in the game on a kid like Saw is to have Kyle Whittingham back. I think.
Yeah. That's a good point. Does Kyle Whittingham, or does he commit and sign on the dotted line and make a huge flip from Tennessee to the University of Utah if there's any concern whatsoever that Kyle Whittingham's, after his dad was, part of those Urban Meyer, Kyle Whittingham teams, and really laid the groundwork of what's going on now at the University of Utah, do you think he would shut it down, or do you think he would actually come to the University of Utah if he had any thought whatsoever Kyle Whittingham wouldn't be there for year one? That's a great point, and I think that's a big, strong indication Kyle might be running it back.
Well, I don't think so. I don't think that he would switch that But I do know that, man, that staff is so good at recruiting, Scotty, and I do know that Morgan and Ben Moa have a really good relationship. And the reason we're spending a little bit more time on this swap is because I do think it is more of an indicator that Kyle Whittingham would be coming back. Now, some might look at it and say, wait a second, but why would Samoa commit to Kyle Whittingham and think, okay, well, Kyle's 66. Things are getting shorter and shorter, more and more narrow. Why would he commit when he knows that coach is on the way out? I don't know if he is on the way out. I don't know. If he's back for 2026, who's to say he's not back for 2027?
Lavelle went to 70, didn't he?
Yeah, Lavelle went to 70. And, Scotty, I'll tell you, when Rock was going through his recruiting process and Utah was recruiting my son, and I was talking to Kyle, and I'm like, Kyle, like, where are you at? He's energized. Now, he's energized. He's having a blast. He loves kids, man. He loves kids. He's so good with kids, and kids need that stern figure that kind of forces growth out of fear. Kyle is one of those old school dudes that has adapted enough with the new school that he's still strong in the old school. And I think that the college game needs Kyle Whittingham, but Kyle is also trying to continue to secure his legacy. And I'm just keeping my fingers crossed. I want him back, and I want to see Utah and BYU own the Big 12 like they owned the Mountain West Conference. And I want to see more Whittingham and Kalani fights. I want to see Kyle embed himself with NIL money in the recruiting game. And when we had Trevor Riley in studio, I think Trevor Riley said it best. He said, find Kyle money, or Kyle is going to go find somewhere else to be great. So I don't even, if Kyle were to leave Utah, I don't even know if he's done.
Wow.
Where Kalani Sitake stayed at BYU, if I'm Penn State, I'm like, all right, can we look at an old dog that could come in and bring that toughness? Because I actually think Kyle Whittingham's personality fits Penn State and what they've brought to the table for years. But I'm hoping that Kyle will stick around, continue to develop this team. And he does have a lot of young, very good talent to work with, Scotty.
Oh, yeah, there's no doubt. And you look at the groundwork that he's laying right now, if they do have the money behind them. And I got to think, if I'm a fundraiser for that collective or whatever they're doing to give money to athletes right now, you got to look at BYU and say, and go to your donors and be like, hey, guess what? They upped their game in a big way. And there was some hints earlier today by Brian Santiago of what Kalani not only expected from a financial standpoint for him, but also his assistants and some of the other facilities and things that they want built down there that I think everybody signed off on. So they're investing in football in a big, big way. And so if I'm the University of Utah, I'd be like, look, we've got a legendary coach in Kyle Whittingham. He'll stick around and he'll be a part of this and help us continue to evolve this program to where it needs to be so that we go and are in the conversation every single year for the college football playoff. But we got to have this. And guess what? The team in Provo's doing this. You got to do this as well. Are you ready to step up? How competitive are you? Do you want to compete with BYU?
Yeah.
Because if we're going to compete with BYU, it's going to be in a bank account as much as anything.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. Yeah, because, I talk about that young talent. Like, you got J.J. Buchanan for a few more years. J.J. Buchanan, as the season went on, he just became more and more deadly. He's got those long arms that can pick a ball out of the air at 6'4". He's going to get expensive. Daniel Bray, he's just a freshman. People are like, well, why did it take you so long to discover Daniel Bray could play the role of a Smith Snow? Wait a second. Daniel is just a young kid, and he's just coming into his own, and you're able to discover him. So I look at some of this young talent that they've got, guys like Bird Ficklin. He's just a freshman. He's just a baby, and he's just starting to get going in his career. And I think that, if I'm Jason Beck, I'm ecstatic with where I'm at with especially a lot of my specialty talent, that I can really get going with this team. So I think there's a lot of encouraging things going on for Utah and their talent. They look fast. They look fast offensively. And it's just interesting because we saw the defense kind of lag behind and not too far behind, but lag behind Utah's offense because Utah's offense was the number 7 offense in the country.
Explosive, powerful. That offense took a massive step up. And if you can retain the core pieces of that offense, rebuild your offensive line through the portal and your development, and run that thing back next year with year number 2 with Devin Dampier and Jason Beck and Bird Ficklin. Watch out, folks. That offense could be just downright lethal next year. All right, take a break. Hans and Scotty, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. It's your Ute Preview Show as we look ahead to where Utah may end up in the upcoming bowl season, what their future looks like as well. It's all right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Let's go! Complete game coverage of the Cougars is right here on the KSL Sports Zone. It's a Big 12 title game showdown for Kalani Sitake and the Cougars as they square off against Texas Tech for a spot in the college football playoff. Exclusive Big 12 title game coverage on the Zone is presented by JCW's, the Burger Boys. Quality and a lot of it. This is Hans Olsen and Scotty G, presented by Mountain Land Supply on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
We promised him, so we're going to deliver him. We don't let the listeners down. And when we tease Frank Dolce, everybody gets excited. They need their Frank. Well, Frank's in a little bit of traffic, and he's upset, but he's still willing to join us here on the phone before he gets here to the studio. Frank, first and foremost, are you okay?
I am completely and totally fine.
Good.
Physically, mentally, spiritually, in any of the leaves, I am fine.
Okay, then we're blessed. And I think we're doing a good job. I mean, I was worried that you may be the cause of the traffic, but you're not.
Well, typically, but not because I've caused an accident. I mean, people are just watching, just looking in. That tends to slow down. I'll tell you who's not okay. The poor minivan that's underneath the back end of a Toyota Tundra.
Oh, shoot.
Yeah, that's not okay.
That's tough. One time I passed the guy that played Frodo Baggins in the Dwarf movie.
Are you making this up?
No, I'm not kidding. I was on the road and I passed him. He also played Rudy. And I passed him in my car and I'm like, whoa, that's Sean Astin. So I slowed down and I'm like, oh my gosh, that's Sean Astin. Yeah, I saw the guy that played Frodo.
Samwise Gamgee?
No. That's a different guy. I don't even know what you're talking about. Is that a different language? I don't know. Lloyd's speaking tongues in our ear right now, Frank. Samwise Gamgee?
I heard that.
Like, what are you talking about, Lloyd?
That's the character from Lord of the Rings.
Oh, okay. Well, I didn't pass him.
No,
Frank.
But do you think he looked over at you and said, "Hey, that's Hans Olsen"?
Hey, that's Sloth from Goonies. I was in that with him.
I'm going to check his Wikipedia page right now.
Oh, man,
Frank,
it's good to talk to you.
I don't know why you got to hurt me so deep, Frank. You make me self-deprecate, and that's not fun either. Hey, Frank, I want to get a big picture look from you on this Utah team. Two things. How did you feel about the season, and how do you believe Utah fans feel about the season?
I feel great. I feel really good about the season. Utah had a rough beginning, and if I was being super objective and critical about the season, I would say Utah should have come out with just one loss, but maybe that's optimistic based on some of the things that happened late in the season. But But I feel like this is a team that really came together, faced some adversity early on, found their footing, and they were able to find ways to win football games atypical of a Utah football team. Utah football teams don't give up 500 yards rushing in a game or 300 yards rushing in a game. And they're also teams that don't score 40 or 50 points a game. And so under really interesting circumstances, in difficult situations, even on the road, I think this team overcame a lot of obstacles and started playing to a very high level.
And I kind of just trying to get a feel for where Utah fans in general feel for it, just as in terms of probably headed to the Vegas Bowl. But what sucks, Frank, honestly, and I think if they would have finished with 30-point blowouts against the two Kansas schools, I think we'd be talking differently about this. But how do they feel about a Vegas Bowl? How do they feel about the potential into this? And do they feel slighted like BYU feels slighted in the Big 12 right now?
Oh, the Big 12 should feel slighted. The Big 12 should feel slighted. To be completely honest, even if Utah goes out and destroys Kansas State and Kansas, they're still not getting into the playoff. Like that's the tenor of the feeling of the Big 12 throughout the nation. For some reason, like slighted is a nice way of saying that they've gotten railroaded. The Big 12 has gotten railroaded. Now Texas Tech belongs. Yep. BYU has done everything possible to get in, like they belong. Yep. And when you look at the rest of the conference, I would say Utah should be like Utah's right on that line. To me, Utah's right on that line. But it should be on the line of like leaning in, not on the line of they're so far out, like there's no chance of them getting in. That's where there's a mix-up here.
It's frustrating. And it's frustrating because it almost feels like, Frank, the committee has used Utah to drop them a little bit to make BYU appear just a little bit less in that win. Do you feel like there's some of that manipulation going on?
No, there's no doubt. There's no doubt. I mean, you can't tell me that, first of all, there's money involved, so just follow the money. You can't tell me that the committee involved with putting the teams in the playoffs that's going to generate the highest TV audiences of the year, which then means sponsorship dollars of the year, they're not looking at teams and saying, well, look at this team and the demographic of viewership of this group. Wow, I know that they have two really terrible losses, but they're going to draw a lot. That's going to be a lot of people. There's going to be a lot of people watching this game. But if we put this team in here, it's just not going to generate that much interest. They probably deserve it, but they're not going to generate that much. There's no doubt that's happening behind closed doors.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think it's a really tough situation for Utah to be in right now. Give me your thoughts on Kyle Whittingham. I've said multiple times I think he's coming back, but he could pull the trigger and be gone tomorrow. I just don't have any inside track on this. I'm just curious what you've heard and what you've maybe talked to some people about with Kyle Whittingham's return.
I think it's unfortunate that he's required to make a decision with the administration. I don't know if that has to be public, but that decision has to be made here pretty quick. So I think that's a little unfortunate. And I think it's unfortunate because there's very few circumstances that I think you go through, especially at this point in a career, that you go through a football season and say right at the end of it with certainty, like, oh yeah, I'm coming back. Like this, we're ready to go again. It's a long and trying and difficult process. It's exhausting. It's time away from family. It's stressful. And for a young guy in the beginning of his career, yeah, he's ready to come back. For a guy who's been in this thing a long time, who financially doesn't need to do it anymore, he's just a competitive guy. There's lots of other things that, he's interested in. He has family and grandkids and hobbies, and he needs a couple weeks off to recognize if he still has the fire. And so, I mean, here's what I would say about Coach Whittingham, and you know this as well. Where else is he going to find this competitive outlet? There's not another guy with that burning intensity all the time. And I don't know where he finds the proper outlet for that if he's not coaching football. The only circumstance I could really see this retirement happening this year, managing it appropriately for him, is if he retires, but he's still like the chairman of the board. And I'm not saying that he's in there making coaching decisions and that he's, running practices or telling position groups coaches what they need to do. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that he's like the overseer, still, knee deep in the program, but overseeing and providing wisdom and experience and all of the things that a new head coach could really benefit from. But if he's going to just step away, and you're telling me that he's going to go play golf and get a Vespa and drive his golf cart around, I just don't see that happening.
Did you say a Vespa?
Yeah. He will punch you in the face, Frank, if you ever say that again.
He'll shove the Vespa up your nose.
A nice Italian scooter riding around the neighborhood saying, "Buongiorno," just waving to the crowd.
With an artist's hat kind of tipped to the side.
Bro, if he grew one of those little mustaches, like the pencil thin classic, an artist's cap on, maybe a vest.
Oh my gosh.
I could probably see that.
What is if Kyle Whittingham is back, what does that mean for Morgan Scalley?
Another year to train under one of the great coaches of all time. I don't know that Morgan Scalley has any desire to coach anywhere else.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And so if that's the truth, then he's coaching at the place where he wants to coach. Why? How is that a negative? He's coaching at the place he wants to coach. He's making a very nice salary. In fact, I'm sure that could be a consideration too, is that maybe his salary gets bumped up a little bit. The position is waiting there for him. That's been made clear. And he gets another year of experience with one of the greatest. So I don't know, maybe the ego side would say I should be the head coach. I don't know, but I think in this kind of situation, patience from Morgan Scalley would be his greatest asset.
Mm-hmm. I don't know about you, Frank. I look at the guts on these head coaches. I don't know if I've got the guts to be a head coach. I wouldn't mind just being a coordinator making a couple million a year.
It's really interesting that you mentioned that, because I'm looking at Jay Hill. I'm looking very closely at Jay Hill. Jay Hill should be a head coach. There's got to be programs that are interested in Jay Hill being a head coach, but we're not hearing anything about it. Why aren't we hearing anything about Jay Hill being a head coach? Now, maybe this could align with what you're saying. Maybe Jay understands the head coaching position. He did it several years. He was very successful at Weber State. He knows what kind of grind that is. He's had the opportunity now to be in this position. He's very highly regarded. Everybody loves him, me included. People I think people align with the statement that he has been the most significant hire at Brigham Young University since Lavelle Edwards. I think that's true. And so I would also, looking at that situation, I would also say, how is that a bad deal? I mean, outside of making head coach money, and P.S., I'm pretty sure Jay Hill's going to get paid now. I don't know if that was made public or not, but actually it probably wouldn't. It's a private school, so. But Jay Hill's going to get paid. He should. Like, how is that a bad deal?
It's not a bad deal at all, bud. I mean, it's not a bad deal at all. Maybe I could shed a little bit of light on Jay Hill, but and I'm not saying he won't ever go take a head coaching job, but I think this heart scare has really set him back more than he would ever admit. And I'm speaking from a spouse point of view. If Amanda was the women's assistant volleyball coach at BYU and had a heart stop like Jay Hill had a heart stop, and she was considered to be the head coach at BYU, we'd have it would be a collective conversation, and she can do what she wants, when all is said and done. But I'm going to strongly suggest to her to keep her tension level down, and just to continue to ride it out and hope that things get better. But let's keep the stress down and keep the tension down so that we don't have any more complications. That's got to play a role, don't you think?
I would be surprised if that's not in the back of his mind. And by the way, like, we both know that within his family, there's been real big health scares. Like that you're talking about a real thing within that family. So yeah, I think that's very insightful to talk about that, to bring that up.
All right, Frank Dolce, he is calling from his car. Are things moving along here, Frank? Are you getting closer?
Yeah. No, I'm outside the building.
Oh, okay.
I'm literally sitting outside the building.
Let's do this. We'll take a quick break. Frank's going to run up to the studio, and we'll do the rest of the show with Frank here on the mic. That's all coming up.
You ready for Utah football more than the KSL Sports Zone?
Ready?
The season isn't over yet for Kyle Whittingham and the Utes as they wait for their bowl game matchup to end the year. Your home for the best coverage of Utah football is right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. This is Hans Olsen and Scotty G, presented by Mountain Land Supply on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Frank just showing up, getting off his horse, and coming into studio. Man, those boots. Why do you not have spurs on them? We need spurs.
I'm not.
Oh, jeez. Is this Reno 911?
I'm an old cowhand from the Rio Grande, but my leg's not full and my fist's not thin.
I'm missing it. Oh, jeez. That's an old throwback. Do you even know Interspace?
No.
You're too young for Interspace. Frank wasn't even born when Interspace came out.
You got to be kidding me.
Don't disrespect the Cowboy.
Frank was 10.
Don't disrespect the Cowboy. The Cowboy is America.
Those are nice boots.
I wish I could wear cowboy boots every day.
You're a real cowhand from the Rio Grande, Frank.
I'm just a cowpoke.
The problem is I know how much cowboy boots go for.
I'm just a cowpoke.
And cowboy boots nowadays don't say, hey, I'm a hard worker. Cowboy boots nowadays say, hey, I got a lot of money.
Exactly.
Talking
That's
about?
exactly
I
what he
got
says.
a lot of money.
It's like Urban Cowboy?
I am so ashamed that you did not know. I thought for sure you were going to know that.
Dude, I
I
missed
knew it. I thought you would.
I thought it was Reno 911 when he comes out with his
Reno
white
911.
boots.
What?
And he's clicking his white boots together.
Why don't you play something from Tombstone? Like, I mean, whatever you just played was a disgrace. Play something from the outlaw Josie Wales.
Just somebody hawking a loogie, flicking a cigar across the room. Is that?
I'm your Huckleberry.
That says more about the cowboy boots.
Yeah.
Frank Dolce, it's your Utah review of season show. Is that what we're calling it? A Utah review of season show or Utah preview for bowl season show? Probably Utah preview for bowl season.
Wait, no, we should do a Utah preview show.
We're previewing the future of Utah.
Yeah, which is a bowl game. Well, are you here in Vegas? Mostly Vegas, isn't it?
Vegas. Yeah, Vegas. What, like Iowa, Nebraska,
Illinois. Those are the three.
Illinois.
Yeah, I think all three are decent
I love
matchups.
It. I love it.
Illinois. And what was the other one? Remind me.
Iowa.
That's right.
At least that's a nice Big Ten team, but it's still a consolation prize.
It is.
Do you think that Kyle and the team are feeling slighted? Or do you feel like they're getting what they feel like they deserve? Because the last two games, giving up the yardage and having to fight their butts off against two Kansas schools, they should have shut them down.
Tell me something. How entertaining were those games? Like, now that they're over.
They were amazing.
How entertaining were those games? Like,
they were amazing.
I'm watching Utah get gashed, losing my mind.
Yeah.
Like, wait a second, what is this? We did this last week.
Yeah.
We haven't corrected this?
I know.
What?
Scotty and I thought they'd be under 130, 140. I think you thought they were over.
I was like, they're under 100 yards. I was giving them this huge props, like it was a big turnaround. And then, to what, 290 yards later?
Yeah, close to 300.
Jeez.
Yeah, it was tough to watch them slice through that team. But, it's interesting for the University of Utah and what they were able to do in parts of the season. So, Frank, I keep average margin of victory.
Mm-hmm.
Texas Tech is one of the best in the country at average margin at 31.9 points. Utah's at 29.8. They're not far behind what Texas Tech was doing to teams. Utah was stomping out teams. Now, those last two games, tough. The rivalry game, tough, and obviously the game against Texas Tech. But for the most part, when they get a beat on a team, they would destroy them. They're number 6 in scoring offense at 41.1 points per game and number 16 in scoring defense at 11.3 points per game. This team, they know how to win. And what's sad is I don't know if Iowa tells us enough about Utah. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I don't know if a matchup against Iowa tells us if this team belonged in a big boy college football playoff or not. Iowa is at 8-4. If it's not Iowa, let's say it's Illinois, they're 8-4. Iowa is a 6-3 Big Ten team. Illinois is a 5-4 Big Ten team. Those are much better options than Nebraska. Much better options than Nebraska. What I'm hoping for is that it would be Iowa because I think it would tell us at least a little bit more about this team. Iowa's wins included Rutgers, Wisconsin, Penn State, Minnesota, Michigan State. They beat Nebraska. Their losses were Oregon and USC.
That's good. That's very reasonable.
Yeah, it's a good solid team.
Yeah, that's not a team. I don't think Utah would feel like that's not a team that you feel slighted about. That's a team you're like, okay, this is a real deal. Like, we have to be on the very top of our game if we're going to come out in this one.
For sure. For sure. You're going to have to be a really good team.
Mm-hmm.
Iowa does a couple of things. They do a couple of things really well. They got a running back that went for 783 yards this season. Their quarterback is a dual threat, went for 500 yards and scored 15 rushing touchdowns.
Mm-hmm.
So he threw 8 touchdowns, but he ran for 15 touchdowns. So he's really good. They do have a 1-2 punch with the running backs. So you got some of that. Decent receivers, but they're just not a high target game or team. They've put up 21 sacks this season, so they've got some good pressure. I think that Iowa matchup would be a good matchup.
The Iowa matchup is a really good matchup, and one of the reasons it's a really good matchup is Utah's done a really nice job recently throughout the year of shutting down passing games. Like, that's been a good strength, but the inability to stop the run now.
And this would be a running game.
It's clearly evident in the last 2 games. But if you go back across the football season, there are times when Utah is getting gashed in the run game and teams are not sticking with it. and then they go, they try to throw the ball around, and Utah shuts it down. Yeah, it probably is because they get behind. But Utah has been susceptible to the run. It's really been exposed the last 2 weeks. This would be an enormous test. Like, it would be a running game. Iowa would come in. In fact, the head coach at Kansas said that at halftime in the game. He was like, well, we saw this other team do something on the run game. We're going to stick with it. And they sure did. Mm-hmm. So I think that's a very compelling matchup.
The Big 12 Football Awards have been announced. Yes, there are many Utah players that have been announced in these Big 12 Football Awards. We'll hit all of them coming up next on your Utah Preview Show.